Family and friends, neighbors, and most of all strangers, welcome to the Christian Chronicle podcast. We're bringing you the stories shaping Church of Christ congregations and members around the world. I'm btirwin. May what you are about to hear bless you and honor God. I visit a lot of Church of Christ congregations, and one thing that I discovered over the last couple of years, many of them make the hit streaming show The Chosen part of their adult and or youth classes. The remarkable thing about it is that I find this to be the case for what we might call conservative or traditional Church of Christ congregations and the ones that are more quote-unquote progressive. I've been to a Church of Christ congregation that still uses the King James Version for preaching and scripture readings and the Old Red Hymnal for congregational singing, yet when they gather for Wednesday night Bible study, they watch and discuss The Chosen. So the show has achieved something remarkable beyond its widespread popularity and use in Church of Christ congregations. It's an innovation, if you will, that seems to unify Church of Christ congregations all along the conservative to progressive spectrum. Now, in case you aren't one of those Church of Christ folks who knows much about the show, The Chosen is what Wikipedia calls a, quote, Christian historical drama television series, end quote, that is now in its 5th season. The Chosen follows the life and ministry of Jesus of Nazareth through the eyes of the people who interacted with him. What started as a crowd-funded show available only on the VidAngel platform for subscribers only was released for free during the COVID pandemic in 2020 and quickly found its way to the mainstream. It eventually moved to Netflix and is now available on Amazon Prime Video. As of 2025, over 280 million people worldwide have streamed the show, including all of those Church of Christ folks watching it in fellowship halls and youth rooms every week. Dallas Jenkins, the creator, principal writer, and showrunner for The Chosen, recently spoke at Oklahoma Christian University in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The Christian Chronicle's own Bobby Ross Jr. walked over to the school and managed to get some time alone to interview Jenkins. We took Bobby's recording of that conversation and turned it into this episode you're about to hear. You'll also hear our own CEO, Eric Trigestad, and Carla Hinton, who is the faith editor at the Oklahoman, the big daily newspaper there in Oklahoma City. So enjoy Bobby Ross Jr.'s interview with Dallas Jenkins.
So I guess you just wrapped up season 6. Yes. Can you talk about, I guess, kind of the process of season 6? And you went to 3 different cities, I think.
3, yeah, well, in 2 different countries. So season 6 was by far the hardest season we've ever filmed, one of the hardest things I've ever done. It included filming in Utah, Texas, and Italy. We were in Italy for a month. And I think season 6 was meant to be hard. It was the longest season of filming, the hottest, the most physically challenging. I think when you're capturing the crucifixion, which is what season 6 is, it captures essentially around 24 hours, Jesus's final hours. And I think that God wanted us to get a little taste of some suffering and sacrifice for the purpose of capturing this. I think a lot of the strain and challenge and even at times desperation that we had while we were filming comes out on screen. I think it was very visceral, and I think it's gonna turn out to be our best season as well, but it was definitely our hardest.
So will it debut in March of next year?
No, it'll be a while. It'll actually be late fall of next year because the time, the separation between the previous season is longer because it was longer filming. Our hope is to translate this into several dozen languages and to release it all at once in those multiple languages. And that takes a long time. So a lot of times we've just released it in English and Spanish maybe, and then the other languages catch up. But this time I really want to do it at the same time. The first 6 episodes will come out to streaming, and then the finale is a big kind of supersized theatrical experience. So that'll be released all over the world at the same time in early 2027.
So I guess I worked for the Associated Press when The Passion of the Christ came out. I remember I covered like that first day when that came out, and people were coming out of the theaters with like red eyes, and it was just a really emotional experience. You may remember that from seeing it yourself. I'm wondering, how do you expect your version of the crucifixion maybe to be the same and different from what we saw with Mel Gibson's portrayal?
So there's two ways that I think we're going to be different from the Passion of Christ. Number one, we have more tools in our tool belt than he did by the fact that we have 5 seasons leading up to this. So he was using a lot of violence and visual intensity to try to capture the reality of the crucifixion and the weight of the crucifixion. But it was a movie, so he only had a limited amount of time. So we don't need to do that to communicate just how visceral and intense the crucifixion was, because for many people, just a simple reaction from one of Jesus's closest friends is going to break us, because we've known these characters for so long. So it has even more emotional weight because of the backstories that we've had for over 5 years. The second thing is it's just not going to be quite as explicitly violent. Mel did it already. I feel like I don't have anything new to add to the physicality of it. We've seen dozens of portrayals. Mel's was the most violent. I think we've got an idea of what that looks like. I don't think I need to go into that and to make it, I mean, sometimes it's almost like a documentary if you want to capture it accurately. And I feel like for this, the storytelling that we're doing, we're trying to tell a story not just of the crucifixion, but of the history of humanity. This movie is going to cover and remind you of the history of from the creation of the universe all the way to the crucifixion, to help establish the need for the crucifixion. So we're coming at it from a little bit more of, I think, an emotional journey and a spiritual journey than a physical one. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but I would assume that people coming out of your theater, it's going to be an impactful experience.
I sure hope so
as well.
I sure hope so. I mean, it's definitely, as we were filming it, we couldn't get through the days without taking turns having some sort of emotional breakdown. I had my first experience on set where I could get myself together emotionally, but I can't predict exactly how everyone's going to react, but it's for us and for what I believe we're capturing in the story that we're telling and the truths of the crucifixion. I think it's going to be easily the most emotional impact our show has ever had.
And y'all did film in the same general area as The Passion was filmed?
Yeah, so The Passion was filmed in Matera, Italy, which is a city that is still preserved its thousands of years old status. I mean, it's the only place we could find where the horizon line still looked like the first century. And so several crucifixion projects have filmed there, all the way back to the Passion of St. Matthew in a Pasolini's film in the 1960s. So there's a reason why multiple projects have filmed there. And so I think our crosses were set up about 50 yards from where Mel's were. And he's actually filming the Resurrection movie there as well, right? So it's a very, very...
Did y'all overlap anyway? You were...
No. But yeah, we gave each other space. But it's a very, very special place. And it was clear to us that it was the only place that was right for this project.
I read that you knew Charlie Kirk and that you were filming season 6 when you found out about what happened to him. Could you talk, about how you did know him and maybe how you approach politics? And I know maybe y'all have some similarities, but maybe also some differences in how you approach those kind of conversations.
Well, I will say I wasn't close. I knew him a little bit. We had a lot of mutual friends, and we were in our last week of filming when we found out. I think the differences between what we're doing and what Charlie's doing, of course, is Charlie was, I think, kind of used politics as an on-ramp into discussions of Christianity. We are kind of the other way around. I mean, we're talking about the stories of Jesus. I'm focused on the stories of Jesus. We don't get into the political realm as a show, even though many people want us to, from both sides. The story of Jesus is oftentimes used for political purposes. One side likes to quote Jesus to support some of their political ends or their policies that they're wanting, and then the other side will use other quotes to support their policies. what we're trying to do is just tell the stories of Jesus, and how people react to that is up to them. It's between them and God, them and their families, them and their church. We're just trying to authentically portray the stories of Jesus as much as possible. I used to be a little bit more politically active on social media. Since I've started doing The Chosen, I've dramatically slowed that down, because I feel like by telling the story of Jesus, I kind of want to follow kind of his example of, hey, look, I'm here about your heart. I'm here. Jesus was here about the heart, and he was always speaking to very diverse groups of people, and how sometimes he was divisive in his claims of salvation, and other times he was unifying. But it was always the unification or the division was always on the spiritual level, not the political level. Now, of course, he would upset people sometimes because of politics, but I just found that what my job is different from other people in the public sphere. So I'm just trying to tell the stories of Jesus as authentically as I can. And then the response is not up to me. He was a little bit more like looking for a response, looking for engagement on the political sphere. And that's less my interest now.
You been to Oklahoma before?
I have been to Oklahoma. I have not been to Oklahoma Christian before. This is my first time visiting this campus, but I was at the Dead Center Film Festival like 15 years ago. I mean, I live in Texas now, and of course, Texans believe Jesus lived there, which is why we filmed the show there. Oklahoma is a little different, but the fact that the high heat and humidity, even in October, is familiar as a living in Texas now. But I love Oklahoma.
Where do you live in Midlothian? Or?
Yeah,
okay,
Midlothian. So that's where we film. So I moved to Midlothian a few years ago. So
how old are you?
I'm 50. I turned 50 this year. 50.
Oh, congrats. That's young. I'm 57. So
okay.
You have 4 grown children?
Four children. Yes, two getting married. One already married this year. The other one getting married later this year. So they're all grown up.
Do you do a lot of appearances like that you're doing here at Oklahoma Christian?
I used to do more. Now that the filming has really become comprehensive, I don't do quite as many. But I have. So Come and See is the nonprofit that finances our show, and Mark Green started Come and See. So the Green family is here. So I actually get out to Oklahoma City every now and then for them. So it made sense for me to come here. I accepted this request to come speak because then I also spoke yesterday at North Church and was able to spend time with people from Come and See. So it makes sense. Oklahoma City is becoming a little bit of a second office.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay. What excites you about coming to a university like Oklahoma Christian?
Well, I love college students. I think in many ways The Chosen is made for the college age me. When I was in college, as a believer, I just there wasn't much other than my VeggieTales. There wasn't much in the way of media that spoke to my experience and my faith. And I was always frustrated by that. And it's taken a long time for faith media to catch up. But I feel like now what I'm excited about is being able to speak to college students and also make The Chosen, hopefully, for them, saying, yeah, even at your age, someone who loved this generation, of course, loves media, social media, television, and movies. And even at 50, I feel like I can serve some media that's going to speak to their experience as much as possible. So I love coming to college campuses because I think that this is the generation that we sometimes complain about because Gen Z is so different than we are, but this is an opportunity to perhaps learn from each other.
And you mentioned Come and See. Is that the name?
Come and See is the name of the nonprofit that finances The Chosen.
And y'all were trying to raise $30 million for the crucifixion.
For the crucifixion movie.
And you got like 25 million.
Yeah, I think we've gotten I think by the time the week is over, I think we're going to have reached our goal. But they finance everything. So this year was more because the crucifixion is so big. The crucifixion movie is so big, and going to Italy and all these things were so much bigger production-wise than we normally do. Come and See agreed, we need to go all in. We need to make this as big as possible. So this is our most expensive season as well.
Well, so one of the things that I was interested in, I know the first time I watched The Chosen, I thought, okay, a TV series, how's this going to work? You used to sing movies, let's just face it, right? And then I saw how you got into it, and I thought, this is genius. Why did you do that? What made you think TV show as opposed to movie?
Because a movie has a limited amount of time. And so movies about Jesus always tend to go from miracle to miracle, Bible verse to Bible verse. And you don't actually get to connect with the people who are impacted by what Jesus is doing. You're seeing it through his eyes. So it's like he heals this person, and then he goes to this person and heals them of their anxiety. And then he encounters the religious leaders. And so it's kind of like it almost feels like a montage of Bible verses set to film. Television show allows you to go deeper into these stories. So we get to know the apostles. We get to know the enemies of Jesus. We get to know the people who are healed by Jesus, who are changed by Jesus, people who reject Jesus. So to me, long form storytelling is something that hadn't been done in the Jesus story. And I think it demanded it. And I think that's what people have been responding to, is saying, okay, I get to know Peter. I get to know Matthew. I get to know Nicodemus. I get to know the high priest Caiaphas. I get to know the Romans who are opposing it, like Pontius Pilate. That allows the moments of scripture to be even more impactful because there's stakes involved. It's not just, and then this happened. It's, ooh, I want to know what happens to this person. Oh, that's right. This moment from scripture that's so famous impacted these people, and we know these people.
So knowing that you were coming, I went back to the first couple of shows just to kind of remind myself, hey, this is how I started. And the moment when Mary Magdalene comes from that corner, and Nicodemus is like, he's trying to drive out the demon. That you like, listen, you're not going to be able to do it. And I just got chill about that. Oh, I have to remember that. And so you're right. It does bring you into those stories in a way that a movie can't, because it's fun.
So in the Bible, when it introduces Mary Magdalene, it just says, who was possessed by 7 demons. Changed. Well, that's all it says. The Gospels were essentially designed, written to be Jesus' greatest hits to prove that he was the Messiah. But it's not really telling you the deeper stories of the people involved. And so by the time in episode 1, we really take you into Mary Magdalene's past, so that when she's redeemed, it actually really means something. It's actually impactful and people can identify it. But in fact, I just heard yesterday, it was very moving to me. There's a shelter in Bangladesh that helps women who have been trafficked. And it's a horrible, horrible experience, but this place helps them. And they said that The Chosen has so impacted them because they see the first episode shows Jesus helping a woman like us, right? And so I think when people can identify with the struggles that some of these people faced, then they can identify with the solution to those struggles.
I was at an Interfaith Alliance of Oklahoma dinner the other day, and we were all at tables. I'm a Christian, but there were people from different faiths, and you were talking about you coming, and some just didn't follow you. And one of the ladies who's of the Pi faith said she has all of her books that, Christian books, and she's trying to follow along to see how accurate you are. She said she's just fascinated by what you've done. And had you ever thought that this might appeal to people who aren't necessarily Christian, but who are interested in Jesus?
Well, that was the hope, was that I'm just going to tell the stories of Jesus. And I just decided early on, I'm not going to have an agenda in mind. I'm just going to tell the stories as authentically as I can, and then leave the response up to God and to the audience, right? And so we have people on our cast and crew. I mean, over half of our cast and crew are traditional believers. And I think that is, they came because they really just loved the show. They loved the historical drama of it. And I think that's what is allowed a lot of people from different faiths, or lack thereof, people of no faith background, to appreciate the show. Is it, even though we see Jesus, we see Jesus even preaching, they'll say it doesn't feel like it's an agenda. It just feels like a drama that's accurately capturing the stories of Jesus. And I think sometimes we take on too much responsibility to try to convince people of our faith, as opposed to just maybe taking away some of the hurdles to an authentic portrayal of Jesus, and then letting them respond accordingly. But that's not up to me.
When did you know that crowdsourcing was going to be the way to go? When did you figure that part out?
I'm still figuring that part out. I never fully believed in it, and still, because it's been so difficult. But I thought the idea of crowdfunding was ridiculous. I thought there's no way it's going to work. I mean, the all-time crowdfunding record at the time was $5.5 million from projects that had huge fan bases. And I had no fan base that was coming off of a big career failure. So I thought, there's no way this is going to work, but I didn't, I thought, well, it's none of my business. Let's just try it. And we put this short film out, and people watched the short film, and I said, hey, if you want to invest in this show, here's the opportunity. And when it generated over $10 million for 16,000 people, I was as surprised as anybody. And it's still, we just decided, you know what, there's something about the fact that the show's free and the fact that the people are involved, people that love the show are giving back to it, it has really generated a lot of heat for the show all over the world. And so, the fact that probably less than 5%, sorry, I don't know how I said this. Less than 5% of the people who watch the show actually pay for it. And there's something actually really beautiful about that there's this group of people that say, we're going to keep this show free for the rest of the week. And so people all over the world are able to watch the show for free. So it's not easy, but it's certainly been beautiful to watch her.
Do you help lead a business or own one? Or do you hope to lead a thriving business someday? Andrew Carnegie said that, quote, no person will make a great business who wants to do it all himself or get all the credit, end quote. So, if you're as wise as the godfather of American philanthropy, who will come alongside you to help you and your business achieve greatness? Freed-Hardeman University offers an online Master of Business Administration that endows you with the knowledge and skills you need to lead in business, finance, management, strategy, things like that. But Freed-Hardeman University's MBA also builds on a biblical foundation, one that keeps ethics, integrity, and the love of God at the heart of your preparation to lead. You can check out the Freed-Hardeman University MBA now for no application fee and no entrance exam. In fact, Freed-Hardeman University promises no hidden fees of any kind. And you can complete your online MBA in 8-week blocks that fit your family and work schedules. So if you want to build a great business, don't try to do it yourself. Let Freed-Hardeman University come alongside you. It costs nothing, and you risk nothing to check it out now. Go to fhu.edu/chronicle. That's fhu.edu/chronicle to take the first step. The Master of Business Administration from Freed-Hardeman University, fhu.edu/chronicle. Growing up going to Sunday school and vacation Bible school, I confess that I thought of Jesus as a kind of magician. His miracles are cool tricks he does to prove that he is divine. But over a lifetime of practicing and studying the way of Jesus Christ, I see that the real power in the miracles is not so much what we may think of as the quote-unquote magic in them. It's the love. What proves that Jesus is the Son of God is not just his power. It's the love at work in that power. And that's what Healing Hands International is all about. All over the world, Healing Hands and its partners are performing nothing short of miracles. For example, they're digging wells and installing filtration systems in communities that don't have access to clean water. They're teaching farming techniques so that people can feed themselves and their neighbors. They're educating, training, and investing in women. And they're delivering thousands and thousands of Magi boxes to children around the world, all in the blessing and bounty of Jesus Christ. If you've wondered how you or your congregation can put the life of Jesus into practice in some of the most real and tangible ways possible, Healing Hands International wants to show you how. Learn more and get involved now. Visit hhi.org. That's hhi.org. Healing Hands International.
You may have talked to people about this before, but how did you find the actor Charles betrayed Jesus? Yeah, what happened? How did you? It's late here.
So 10 years ago, gosh, no, now it's probably more than that. It's probably 50 years ago. I did a short film for my church on Good Friday about the crucifixion from the perspective of the two thieves on the cross. And Jonathan auditioned for one of the two thieves because the part of Jesus was so small in the short film. He didn't show up until the very end. So I had all these great actors auditioning for the two thieves, and all the people auditioning for Jesus were horrible. So I'm like, well, I need someone who's good for Jesus, even though it's a small role. So I said, well, Jonathan, he did a good job because one of the thieves, let's have him audition for Jesus. And 10 seconds into his audition, I saw what everyone else sees when they watch the show. I'm like, my goodness, this guy's incredible. And so we filmed that short film in a rock quarry in Elgin, Illinois. In the spring of, no, it was in the fall of, winter of like 2012. It's freezing. And After that, we did multiple short films and vignettes for my church with Jonathan. And it was almost like a training ground. It was like a test case for what we ended up doing. So when we got the opportunity to do the show, he was the first person cast.
Yeah. What's been the biggest challenge, would you say, making Chosen?
Everything. Is that your outbreak? Look, I mean, The Chosen is it's the biggest blessing that I'd ever had. Of course, it's a tremendous privilege to be able to tell this story. But from the moment we started doing it, it's like everything conspired against us. I mean, my family health crises have started and been nonstop from the moment we started to today. The challenge of the growth has been difficult because now it's 200 cast and crew members every day on the set, and while also trying to generate crowdfunding, while also trying to, in many ways, make some of this up as we go along. Not the story, of course, but the how to sustain ourselves doing this project outside the system allows us a lot of freedom and a lot of ownership, but it's also very difficult because we don't have a studio or a network behind us that has billions of dollars at their disposal that they can just kind of make things easy for us. So from the fact that we've kind of created it from scratch to the fact that feels like everything is difficult in even just my personal life with my family, it's been a challenge, but it's also been a tremendous summit already.
You just touched on something I wanted to ask you. How did other people in the industry talk to you guys? How did they react to you, like you felt what you were trying to do?
Well, at first, there was no reaction. No one knew who we were. No one cared. The industry certainly didn't have a hallway for the kind of thing we were doing. A Jesus show, B, crowdfunding, C, kind of building this audience from scratch, releasing it. We kind of made up our own platforms and our own ways for people to watch it on a free app that they could connect to their television. Now, of course, the industry is all over it. I mean, every streamer was interested in the show and is also is interested in how we did what we did, kind of building an audience from scratch, our social media engagement strategies. So now it's been a cool thing because we had several years of all to begin with, we can still the studios don't want to change or the content. They're like, all right, you've clearly figured me something out. We don't want to mess with that, but we want to put some gasoline on the fire. So now that we have a relationship with Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video, it's actually really cool because they let us do what we do best, and then we use them for what they do best. But at first, there was I would say they weren't rejecting us. They didn't even care. So they didn't even care enough or know enough to even be mean about it. It's just they didn't notice. So we said, all right, we'll do it ourselves.
Was there any one thing that let you know that you were on their radar?
Well, in season 2, when the show really started to hit a tipping point during COVID, and we were the only project in America to be filming during COVID. And we kind of invented our own COVID protocols. That's when the industry started to go, okay, because all the unions, like the actor unions and stuff like that, they had their rules about it. So then when the headlines in all the industry magazines are about this show that's filming, they're like, oh, what's this show? And then they discovered, oh my goodness, it's got tens of millions of viewers all over the world. What's going on here? And then they said, oh, wait, why don't you come on our platform? We said, no, we're good. We're doing it ourselves. So that was when, I think it was around when COVID hit, was when things started to reach a little bit more awareness.
Okay. So you come from a family of people who take the Bible seriously and who have maybe reached out to people through different avenues, like the book, the Left Behind series. How did that influence you, or did it?
Yeah, so I think the concept of taking Bible stories on Bible, in my dad's case, with Left Behind books, for Bible prophecies, and making them palatable to a modern audience is clearly something that I've been influenced by. Yeah. My dad is not a preacher. I'm not a preacher. We're not theologians, but I think we do understand storytelling. And so taking these biblical concepts and turning them into something that the modern audience can relate to, and maybe bringing the words off the page, making them feel accessible, is something that I definitely was influenced by my father. I think a love of scripture, a love of storytelling. I'm doing something obviously different than he did, but I think it's the same idea. As we're here to tell stories, and we're going to take the greatest story ever told and remind the world that this is something that's accessible, that you can actually get it as well. And that's what we heard from people laughing left behind books is, oh, okay, now I understand Book of Revelation better. And people are coming to me saying, oh, now I understand the gospel better. So I think we're certainly a little bit of like follower likes on there.
You talked about North Church, and I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think Mark Green goes to North Church. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with them, if you don't mind, because I know him probably the most. But
First, so Mart saw The Chosen, and it really tremendously impacted it. And he felt led to just help us in some way. And so he started reaching out to people saying, do you know Dallas Jenkins? I'd like to get a hold of him. And he was asking a few of his friends, because he's like, I don't know him, but I have friends who do. And literally on the day that he was asking people, how do I get to find Dallas Jenkins? He saw on his phone a little notification popped up on Facebook, and it was me reaching out to him because we were looking to build this first century campus, a first century set. And I knew that the Green family had done the Museum of the Bible and and I thought, I reached out to him because I thought, would you guys be interested in being involved in this first century set? Because we could also use it as kind of an educational tour. And Mark goes, well, that's my brother. That's not me. But some reason I've been led to try to find you. And right on the day that I was looking, you found me. And so that he heard me speak, and my wife and I speak, and he heard us say, our goal is to just reveal the Bible. We're just a TV show, or not the Bible. And something about that really spoke to him. And his specialty is languages. He's getting the Bible translated into literally thousands of languages. He thought, I'll just help them translate the show into as many languages as possible. And then he got sucked into the vortex, and now he's responsible. He and his organization are financing the whole show.
I love that. Okay. One other thing, you talked about being blessed by being able to do this. Can you expand just a little bit more? Because I came in on the tail end of...
Well, to be tasked with portraying the greatest story ever told for a new generation, and to be allowed to steward this project that's in literally every country in the world, is an immense challenge, and it's an immense responsibility. But when you hear from people in third world countries who are telling you that the show changed their life, or that you're hearing from, there was a screening for 300 orphans in Madagascar. It was translated into their language for the first time television had been translated in their language. They'd never seen television before. And these orphans are watching episode 3 of season 1 of Jesus with the children. And some of their comments were, oh my goodness, this is a God who's like me. He brushes his teeth in the stream, and he makes his own food just like these orphans in Madagascar. I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than that. And so the challenge is, of course, getting it done. But the blessing is the people who tell you that their lives have been changed by it in every country in the world, in dozens of languages. I'll never do anything in my life besides my family as meaningful as that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I got a quick question, if you don't mind.
Oh,
And now you're going to
all that?
Yeah, of course.
You grew up here in the story of Jesus' crucifixion, right? I mean, it's very familiar to you. Do you have any new insights on it now that you've attempted to recreate it and film it, something you maybe had to consider before?
Yes. I mean, and you'll see that in our movie, which is when we were looking for ways to tell this story in a way that hadn't been told before, because I've seen a dozen crucifixion project. Like, well, what can we say that's different, but that still honors the story itself? And it's when you start to connect the Old Testament, when we start to go back all the way to creation, the creation story and Moses, you start to realize that the crucifixion in many ways, both meaningfully and visually, has connections that have been leading to the crucifixion for hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, even just the blood on the doorpost that they put so that the angel of death would pass over their houses. I mean, two two blood marks on the sides and one on the top. And then you look at the cross of Christ and you see there's two blood marks on the sides and on the top. And you see that what he's doing as a sacrificial lamb is the same thing that Passover was. And you go, wow, this is a story that was thousands of years in the making. And so that hasn't been portrayed on film before. It's probably been preached about, but it hasn't been portrayed on film. And so that's something that was really exciting, was to not just tell the story of the crucifixion, but to tell the story of all of humanity.
That's awesome. Above my girls, I got a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old. They loved the show. First time my 17-year-old saw Jesus, she said, "Oh, that's the guy from Dog with a Blog."
Oh my goodness. Yes. That's a deep
The fact that he was able to play out of that stereotype, I think, and really portraying the Messiah is really a credit to his acting.
Yeah, when you can be a French doctor on Dog with a Blog, and you can play the Messiah of the universe. That's the rain. That shows some rain.
Right on there. That's what that is.
Yes. That's so great.
You've had a great story for the dinner table tonight.
Oh, yeah. Actually, was so embarrassed when I told her I asked her. I told her with Dallas Jenkins what you just said about it.
That's really funny. It was one of my favorite things to hear when I hear that 12-year-olds or 17-year-olds act the show. That's not what I was thinking when I made it. But I think there's something about authenticity that even young kids appreciate, especially now. And so it's my favorite thing to hear. You good?
Good, thank you.
Can I get a selfie with you first?
Good to see you.
Many thanks to Dallas Jenkins for sitting down to visit with the Christian Chronicle's Bobby Ross Jr., and many thanks to Oklahoma Christian University for helping us get this interview. In the show notes, we'll post a link to Bobby's story about his conversation with Dallas Jenkins, and we'll also post a link to The Chosen in case you haven't watched it yet. You can go check it out. We hope that something you heard in this episode encouraged, enlightened, or enriched you in some way. If it did, thanks be to God. And please pay it forward. Subscribe to this podcast and share it with a friend. Recommend and review it wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your subscription, recommendation, and review help us reach more people. Please send your comments, ideas, and suggestions to podcast@christianchronicle.org. And don't forget, our ministry to inform and inspire Christians and congregations around the world is a nonprofit ministry that relies on your generosity. So if you like the show and you want to keep it going and make it even better, please make a tax-deductible gift to the Christian Chronicle at christianchronicle.org/donate. The Christian Chronicle podcast is a production of the Christian Chronicle Incorporated, informing and inspiring Church of Christ congregations, members, and ministries around the world since 1943. The Christian Chronicle's managing editor is Calvin Cockrell, editor-in-chief Bobby Ross Jr., and president and CEO Eric Trigestad. The Christian Chronicle podcast is written, directed, hosted, and edited by btirwin and is produced by James Flanagan at Podcast Your Voice Studios in the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan, USA. Until next time, may grace and peace be yours in abundance.